At Seton Hall University, I am required to take English 1201 and 1202 even though I am a biology major. During my first day of English 2 this fall, when I heard the word poetry, my heart stopped beating for a few seconds. Growing up, I always struggled with English, hated writing papers, and dreaded the thought of reading poems even more. After getting through English 1 and not having to read a single poem, I felt like I was on top of the world. My senior year, right before graduation, I had to choose a quote to be displayed under my senior picture. The quote I decided to choose was, "Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." Until recently, I never knew that this quote was a part of a poem. I always knew that Robert Frost was a poet, but when I found this quote, it was like finding a missing piece of an impossible puzzle. I wrote it down and immediately handed it to my class advisor without putting any further thought into it. Reflecting on how quickly I related this quote to my life and the challenges I have faced, it made me appreciate poetry a lot more. After finding my quote in a poem, I then started flipping through pages of the literature textbook and learned to look past the confusing formats and language of poems that made me despise poetry. I learned to instead just enjoy the poem for what it is and to not take everything so literally. Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken reflects my life very well. I have reached many points in my life where I have been stuck at a fork in the road. Without realizing, I interpreted this quote my senior year to not being a literal road splitting in the middle of the woods, and I instead applied it to my life and saw it as a fork in the road of my life when I am caught between two choices. If I could do this with every poem I read, I would truly appreciate poetry a lot more. Before choosing Seton Hall University, I was stuck between Rutgers University and Seton Hall. It was a lot like the situation in Frost's poem. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could. Knowing both schools offered physician assistant programs and that everyone said Rutgers was the better choice because it has a larger science department, I decided to go the way less people went. Everyone tried telling me to follow in my older cousin's footsteps and go to Rutgers because he enjoyed it, but I decided on the path less traveled, Seton Hall. Yet, knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. When Frost wrote this, he meant that one choice we make leads on to a set of other choices and events, and in the end, there is no way of going back to make the same choice again. Choosing the college I wanted to attend was not an easy choice. However, I am happy with the path I decided to take. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. I wouldn't have the friends I have now, I wouldn't be creating this digital story, and my appreciation for poetry would have never developed. The poetry I knew yesterday is certainly not the poetry I know today. Finding this poem was like taking the first step off a plane into land I didn't know and realizing there was nothing to really be afraid of. By giving things a chance and taking some risks, you can learn something about yourself and the things around you that you might have never known before.